Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
We needed to raise capital, but our experience with local financial institutions was that they were cautious and slow to act, and interest rates were far too high. We had real concerns about financing our business through outside equity investors and the possibility of interference. Could we get a fair valuation for our business? We had our own ideas about the business and its value. Should I go the traditional route of bank financing, or should I try the Jamaica Stock Exchange? So we made a call and experienced transformation of our business through conversations. I'm John Mahfood, CEO of Jamaican Teas, and we're listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Give us a call today at 876-967-3271 to begin your transformation through conversation. We want to see your company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
In 2014, we won an account that should have been at that time our transition to the next stage of growth in our business. We borrowed money, went and rented new space. We sent people to the States to go and train, and we came back to start hiring people. And about 6 weeks after that, the client literally went dark on us, stopped responding to our emails, stopped coming on calls. And I started to really get worried because we obviously took on some expense and, planned to be able to start meeting our commitments. And they just walked away.
If you deprive yourself of outsourcing and your competitors do not, you're putting yourself out of business. Lee Kuan Yew. Hi, my people former. What a go on? How are you today? Welcome. It is episode 151 of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. I'm your host, Heneka Watkis-Porter. Today's episode is with Yoni Epstein. Now, the multi-award winning Yoni is a founding chairman and CEO at ITEL BPO, the region's largest homegrown BPO with 8 sites in 4 countries and a large network of at-home subject matter experts. Ranked among the 50 most influential executives for the Latin American and Caribbean region, Yoni's efforts have helped to enhance the region's global positioning while establishing ITEL BPO's diversified geographic footprint. I'm really excited because today we're going to be talking about business process outsourcing and the entrepreneur. Welcome, Yoni.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Before we dive in, what's your favorite thing about Jamaica?
Jamaica, it's diversity. Mm-hmm. Many islands in the Caribbean have a warm set of people that are indigenous to the island. Mm-hmm. But many Caribbean islands are just a big beach, whereas, Jamaica being the land of wood and water, you have the mountains, you have the rivers, you have the beach. Yet there's so much opportunities and diversity to see here. So I think we far surpass everybody else because of that.
Yeah, and I can see in terms of diversification and stuff, I guess we could perhaps even segue into business process outsourcing, but not quite yet, because I want to get a little bit into what the 10-year-old Yoni was like.
Oh, gosh. So I would say from back then, I had the entrepreneurial spirit because myself and my brothers and another friend that used to live up the road, we used to go and take all of the golf balls from that the golfers shanked into the bush close by to us and collect them. And then we used to make lemonade, and then we'd go and set up a table right by the golf course and sell back the golf balls and the lemonade. So that was the entrepreneurial spirit from then. But the mischievous side of it is, I never let people push me around from that age either, because the kid that was with us, he decided, because he was older, that he must get a bigger share, and essentially took all of the money and bullied us and left us. So we had to set up for him and let him know that even though we were younger, that we were partners and he can't thief us. So he will never forget that. We ended up sorting it out properly.
Okay, so I think you're going to allow us to leave that to our imagination, right?
Yes.
All right. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Actually, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a pilot. And I can fly.
I believe I can fly. Okay.
But I'm not a pilot.
Okay.
I'm not a licensed pilot, nor do I fly a commercial plane, but I can fly a plane.
Okay. Awesome sauce. So now we are going to get into ITEL BPO. And, I have watched that company from, not really very closely, but from where I sit, I get to see the amazing things that you're doing and the accomplishments. And, I remember attending one of those business process outsourcing conferences. I think it was the first of its kind that we had, was held in Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Outsourced to Jamaica.
Right, outsourced to Jamaica. And I could, from the look of things, your company pretty much dominated the whole thing, you just being a partner, and you are a very big supporter of others within the industry as well. And for those who don't really know, I'd love to hear what is your elevator pitch of sorts for ITEL BPO.
So, ITEL BPO, when we speak to prospective clients, our differentiator is our culture. As a Jamaican organization, that culture rings out a lot greater than our competitors on the ground, who are also global competitors. So we hang our hat very heavily on our culture, and the fact that we're extremely entrepreneurial. As the owner operator, I'm very much involved in the business on a day-to-day aspect of things. That goes from managing of operations to developing the culture as we continue to grow. Most of these clients that we have are also working with some of the larger players globally. And one of the things they say is that they don't get that white glove level of service. They're not talking to the C-level within those companies that they operate in. And none of us are perfect. We all have our issues. But being able to talk to the top guys and girls in the team to be able to resolve and mitigate issues in the future is a huge differentiator and what separates ITEL from the rest.
And of course, perhaps I need to go back a little because business process outsourcing, BPO, has become a buzzword, not just in Jamaica, in the region, and I guess globally as well. But many persons may still not know. For some, it may still be a jargon. So what essentially is business process outsourcing?
So business process outsourcing is where a company could be anywhere in the world, US, Canada, South America, Europe, China, they essentially outsource a non-core aspect of their business. So for argument's sake, if your business is selling hotel rooms, the core aspect of your business is to develop hotel rooms, provide a service while the guest is on property to ensure that they have a great vacation and that they come back. Your non-core aspect of your business, or one of them, is actually receiving that phone call and making that reservation for the customer. And that's where business process outsourcing comes into play, because we are in jurisdictions that are naturally cheaper than most first world countries. We're able to provide a cost savings, but we're also able to provide a better source of service because our core business is, hiring people, managing people, training them, motivating them, ensuring that they're meeting your requirements in service delivery and representing your brand. So that's our core business. So that is why business process outsourcing actually has come about.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you talk about the fact that, based on where we're geographically located, we are in a better position. We're more poised, to attract businesses, international businesses, global clients who want to, perhaps, the benefit of cheaper labor, more affordable labor. But in terms of the intangibles, the attitudes and the mindset, How is our people doing as it relates to business process outsourcing?
Jamaicans surpass everywhere in the world. We go up against our competitors that have offices in the Philippines, that have offices in Central America, have offices in India, and the Jamaicans always are coming out on top. And that is because of our culture as a Jamaican. We have a natural culture to want to provide good service to people. You want to build a rapport. You want to have a conversation. Our accent is neutral, but our accent is very cool. Everybody wants to be a Jamaican, right? So when somebody calls and they get somebody in India, they get somebody in El Salvador, they get somebody in the Philippines, it's just a conversation that just flows from start to finish and gets the business done. Whereas when you get a Jamaican on the phone, people start to talk about Usain Bolt, they start to talk about Shelley and Fraser, they want to know about Bob Marley, they want to know about Beanie Man, all of these different things. And it builds that rapport that even when you're talking to an irate customer about a problem that you're trying to resolve, we're able to dispel the roughness from that irate customer because of our Jamaican accent and because of our I would say our uniqueness and our suaveness to be able to provide service to customers.
All right. So I'm of the impression that when you're in this industry, then you're being trained on accents and perhaps to standardize your accent of sorts. How do you, because sometimes person are talking to, you call a customer service rep and you happen to get a Jamaican who, in my mind, sometimes does not sound like a Jamaican. So, is that encouraged, to kind of make a generalized or standardized accent, if you will?
I think that if you look at the history of this industry, not in Jamaica, but globally, mm-hmm. It started in India in the late 80s into the early 90s. And because of a very thick accent, they trained the Indians to try to speak English, to speak American. And the Filipinos, as the industry transferred there, again, they followed that same train because the negativity that was coming out to North America was like, I don't want to deal with the Indians. I can't understand them. I don't want to deal with this one. I can't understand them. So there have been aspects, and it is really different by client. Some clients force you to do accent neutralization.
That's what it's called. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and Jamaicans love to twang anyways, right?
Oh, yeah.
so it also almost naturally comes easy for us, right? So some Jamaicans like to twang, so they appreciate that, and others allow the clear aspect of our accent to come out, and some clients demand it. Some clients say, "Look, I love it," and that's a differentiator for Jamaica because I've never heard somebody say, I can't stand how a Jamaican talks. Mm-hmm. Like, I've just never heard that. And no matter which Caribbean island you come from, whether it is Bahamas or St. Lucia or Antigua or Trinidad, or everybody else looks at the Caribbean as Jamaica. And that's something to be proud of.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to talk about clients in a bit, but saying on our people, and it has been my experience, and I see it all the time, that we have one of the biggest challenges with customer service issues. How do you train your people to mitigate against that and to maintain the standard that your company sets out to maintain?
It comes with a few things. So firstly, as I mentioned at the beginning of our discussion, is culture. Jamaicans love to be a part of something that is going somewhere. So you have to develop a culture that is motivating them on a day-to-day basis. You have to develop a culture that is also training them. If we talk about the facts that, I would say over 80% or higher of Jamaicans don't actually get a chance to go to tertiary education, and a big percentage actually don't get a chance to go to high school. So the fact that you instill training into your culture, you're also bettering that person. So when Jamaicans see a trajectory of that nature within your culture, they want to be a part of it, and they want to be successful. So that is the first aspect of things, is developing a culture that you want to be successful in. The next aspect of things is from a compliance perspective. This industry is very, very high on compliance. So all of the phone calls are recorded. There are speech analytic tools that are telling you what an agent is to be saying versus what they're not to be saying. There are trainers and coaches that are listening to those phone calls and are coaching and developing that agent. So from a compliance perspective, we have to follow certain things. So therefore, when they step out or make a mistake, we have to rectify that very quickly, or else, the contract could become in jeopardy, or there's penalties, or whatever the case may be from that perspective. So it's kind of two sides to it. You have the compliance, and then you have the culture side to it, and that's how we keep people, in line.
All right, let's get back to ITEL BPO, Yoni, and tell us when did you start and what inspired you to start? So ITEL BPO started in 2012 with 7 employees. What inspired me to start is, if I was to go back to when I was in college, my grandmother bought my first car for me, and she said that you have to get a job in order to pay me back for half of the car and to pay for your insurance and your gas and so on and so forth. So I was being taught a lesson that if you want something, you got to earn it. And I got a job at a restaurant waiting tables, and a friend of mine, Adam Stewart, whose family owns Sandals Resorts, said to me, "Why are you going to go work in the restaurant? Come and work in reservations with us. You can make more money." So I said, all right. So I left the restaurant and started working on the phone. So as a call center agent in college, part-time, selling vacations to people going to Sandals. So that was my first, education of what a call center was all about. I can't say that I was the best call center agent or the most reliable call center agent at that time, but it gave me insight into the industry. And then when I left school, I had an opportunity to come and open a call center for Sandals here in Jamaica. That was in 2004. So between 2004 and 2012, when I started ITEL BPO, I obviously learned the ins and outs of the industry. The industry was very small in Jamaica at the time. But I believed in our Jamaican people because I saw what I was able to achieve working for Sandals, developing a call center here. So I knew that the opportunities were there. I also knew that based upon the market, nobody knew about Jamaica was really a leader or could be a leader in this industry. I knew that there was opportunity. So when we started the business and, left Sandals, I felt I'd reached a point where, again, that's not their core competency. And I'd reached a point where I think I had ended my tenure by achieving all the goals that I wanted to achieve for them. I said it was time to step out and take this risk. Myself and Lisa were just married a few years before that, and we had our first child on the way, and we both took a big risk and she actually was just starting the Branton Center at the time. So we both took a big risk and said, you know what, if not now, then never. Mm-hmm. So ITEL BPO was born. An interesting story.
And we started with, like I said, with 7 people. Mm-hmm. And today we are almost 3,000 employees across 5 different countries, because we've just recently announced at the end of last year that we're going to be opening in St. Lucia in April of 2020. So we're now in 5 countries with just over 3,000 employees.
Very, very impressive, I must say. Back to ITEL again. What was acquiring your first client like? What was that experience like?
Oh, it was tough. The hardest thing to overcome was that we had experience in the call center world. We had the infrastructure, we had the facility, but we were not providing any service to anybody. So it was very difficult to convince someone to take a chance with us. And the first account that we started in June of 2012. And the first account we actually started and took calls on was in August of 2012. And it was 3 people. And I will never forget the first check that we invoiced out for was $2,700, and that couldn't even pay the rent at the time. But we had a plan. We obviously built our model that we had some cash flow to sustain us as we continue to grow the business and find new clients. And by the end of that first year, first 6 months, so by the end of 2012, we had about 45, maybe 50 employees, and had 3 accounts that we were working with, and we were on our way. But through this journey, the job has not necessarily gotten easier. And, it's always been about, if you only have 50 employees, how are you going to take on my work of 50 employees? I'm doubling the size of your business. How is that going to work? So, that's always been the biggest hurdle to overcome, is instilling confidence in that client that no matter how many seats they give you or jobs they give you to provide, that you can support it, and you can sustain that growth.
Mm-hmm. And back to the issue of, let's address the issue of funding. Was it self-funded? Did you have to raise capital externally? How did that go?
So we've raised capital in several different ways throughout our journey. So number one, I had some cash that I had saved up, as well as we got a loan from Lisa's father to start the business. About 5 months into the business, we were an opportunity was put to us with a long-time friend of mine who was older and more experienced in business, and he wanted to get in for about 20%. So we had done some equity financing with him, and then from there we took on debt financing along the way, but non-traditionally, because financing through the commercial banks have always been tough.
Oh yeah.
And we have some lines of credits, but we've never actually borrowed money from a commercial bank. We've always went to investment houses, Mayberry, GK Capital, places like that, to raise debt financing to do whatever we were doing. And then more recently, we took on some more equity capital and sold 30% of the business, 15 to Panjam Investment, and 15 to Portland Private Equity. So that was, additional equity capital to continue to grow the business.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. And as we're heading to a close of this conversation, Yoni, I'd love to get from you, why should entrepreneurs consider outsourcing, and what stage really entrepreneurs, stage businesses should consider outsourcing their processes?
So, it really all depends on what's happening in your business. Again, it goes back to the simple question is to ask yourself is, whatever is non-core to your product or your service, you should outsource. Someone is going to do it more efficiently and cheaper than you can do it, because it's not your core part of your business. So that is that would be the simple question that I would ask anybody at any size of your business. I'll give you an example of a client of ours who started a business in the US. They started with 2 employees. We took on 2 employees for them. And today, 18 months later, we have about 30 employees for them, because their business has grown, because they took the decision from day one to outsource the non-core aspect of their business.
Any final thoughts for you?
Any final thoughts? Any entrepreneurs out there listening, wondering if you should take the risk, take the chance and do it, I would say that why not, right? Everything in life is a risk. None of us know what the outcome is going to be. None of us know if it's going to work or it's not going to work. But the one thing that you will know if you don't try, it's forever going to humbug you as you continue to grow in life. And there's definitely ups and downs. It's never perfect. All those things that you see online about it being squiggly lines and all over the place, that is a life of an entrepreneur. Today is great. Tomorrow is tough. The next day is 10 times harder. Next week is a phenomenal week. And that roller coaster gets more enjoyable and more amazing as you go along on your journey. So if you're thinking about it, take the chance. If it doesn't work, try again. There's always opportunities out there.
I'm very mindful that I need to wrap up, but there is just one question I think I need to ask you, and it is, what has been your worst entrepreneurial moment, Yoni?
In 2014, we won an account that should have been at that time our transition to the next stage of growth in our business. We borrowed money, went and rented new space. We sent people to the States to go and train, and we came back to start hiring people. And about 6 weeks after that, the client literally went dark on us, stopped responding to our emails, stopped coming on calls. And I started to really get worried because we obviously took on some expense and, planned to be able to start meeting our commitments. And they just walked away. So I literally jumped on a plane one day and went to Orlando where they were based to try and, be that 10-year-old kid again to make sure we got our money. And they gave us some stupid excuse, and we decided we were going to go and sue them. And then they wanted to counter sue us. And one day I woke up and said, we don't have the money to fight this. So I'm either going to, sink the business fighting this, or I'm going to, suck it up, lose a ton of money and figure my way out of it. And that was a decision that I took. And that was the best decision that I made at the time. Okay.
Suck it up and lose a ton of money. I can relate to that. I mean,
there's always a way out.
There's always a way out. Absolutely. And I mean, in a very small way, well, it depends on how you look at it. Perspective is everything. I've had to do that too. I was being sued because somebody claimed I was infringing on their copyright, their trademark, whatever. But that's another story. And I eventually settled, not out of guilt, but out of peace of mind. And you know what? Just call it a day and move right on. And that's the nature of the beast, the nature of the beast that we're in. Entrepreneurship it can be a very exciting and great journey, but it's also one that is very dark and lonely. And I know that all too well. So congrats to you, Yoni, and all that you've been able to accomplish with your team. I know it's not a solo effort. You have an amazing team around you, no doubt. And you're doing quite well. And I want to say congrats to you. Big up to Lisa.
Yeah, man.
You're such an amazing person as well. So, yeah. I'm going to ask you now if you can just share with me how our community may get in touch with you. And then we just end right here.
Sure. No worries. So my email is yoni.epstein@itelbpo.com. Our office number is 876-953-6907. ITEL BPO Smart Solutions on Instagram and ITEL BPO on Facebook. So feel free to reach out and connect.
Thank you, Yoni Epstein. Now, my peak performer, thank you for tuning in to this episode with Yoni Epstein. I certainly look forward to connecting with you next week. In the meantime, get access to my membership program for a one-time payment of $30. Yeah, $30. This program consists of 18 CNN, Forbes, etc. featured experts from 4 countries over 4 days, where they drop significant value bombs at the Entrepreneurial You SME Virtual Conference and Expo. I'm giving access to all 18 videos for only $30. So I'm really excited to share this so that you can find that content. I know you'll find the content meaningful. It's great, not only because it will give you an outlet for sharing these videos, which I've been wanting to do for some time, but because it will give you a way to support the show and make it even better. So you can support at glow.fm/TEY or on the show notes of your favorite podcast app. Remember, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. Well, good.